Table Mountain above Cape Town, setting for the 6th Marathon Canoe World Championship. Distinct change in the weather for the final day of the championships. Yesterday's sunshine replaced by an overcast sky above the Musenberg mountain, with rain in the air and a strengthening southeaster into the faces of the starters for today's 3 gold medal opportunities, the men's and women's kayak doubles and the Canadian doubles. Hello, I'm David Goldstrom, together with South African K2 international paddler Frikkie Reinders. Both of us wrapped up warmly as the 33 boats for the men's K2 final are just about to come under order. Ahead of them, 37.9 kilometers, 4 laps of this anti-clockwise course across the lake and through the waterside houses of Marina da Gama. So this is going to be a cavalry charge. These men now heading up the lake into the wind, about 1,250 meters till they get to the first crucial left-hand turn.
The start is of paramount importance here. You can see the boats on the left having to move over right across to the right where the faster boats are, and also where the shortest route is to the first turn.
The early pace setters, the Portuguese duo of Nelson Ramos and Nuno Henriquez, and spectating pretty unpleasant this morning. Now just coming into the turn now, it's the Portuguese with a narrow advantage. The first of the 2 British boats also well up there. That's Tim Brabants and Connor Holmes. They're just on the right-hand side. And closest to you, that's Chad Meek having a shout for Australia, partnered by Lee Wilson. Chad Meek, who 24 hours ago was trying to defend his individual kayak title, but had to pull out when his arms seized up. And the problem's all on the inside, as you can see here from the Danes. Christian Brown, Rennie Larsen, they've gone inside the buoy, and now they've got to wait, go all the way round, and they've lost an ocean of time. Meanwhile, the leaders, the Norwegian duo of Erik Larsen and Peter Reeb, leading the pack into the first Marina Bridge.
The lead bunch has already settled down in the classical diamond formation. The guys in the front doing all the hard work, with the other guys just riding their wash on each side.
And those leaders already applying the pressure because the field's breaking into groups and some quite significant gaps appearing. Well, now to the first of the bridges, and just how many of these boats are going to get through at one go. Well, no problem the first time. Norway leading. On the left of the picture, that's the yellow kayak of the Danes, with Tor Nielsen, the man who took silver 24 hours ago behind Ivan Lawler in the individual event up front. To the right there, that's the British double, Tim Brabants, Connor Holmes sitting behind. Then the Czechs right behind the Norwegians with those orange spray decks. That's Jakob Zeman and Thomas Karvat. On the left there, just behind them, the Hungarians. And to the right, the first for the home country, Graham Bird. He's in the front wearing the hat, and behind him, Alan van Kuller. So those are the leaders as they come down to the second bridge.
David, it's interesting to see that the guys aren't coming up into the second wave. They're just trailing behind on the half diamond, which just shows you how difficult it is to navigate these narrow bridges with the double.
Well, they're all taking this first lap very carefully, finding their way around the course. They might have trained here, but training and racing, 2 different things. Norwegians just having a look round there, and that was Erik just seeing whether it was time to put the speed on, and Thor's decided that it certainly is. So Tor Nielsen with his partner, Karsten Surgaard, sitting behind, now putting some pace to the race. And you can see there the gap between first and second groups.
Only 3,000 meters into the race, and you can already see the speed hurting some of the guys there.
This is the third group, with the Irish trying to persuade somebody else to do a little bit of chasing here, but nobody too keen as the leaders now go out onto the open lake, with the Danes still with the advantage.
This open lake section is going to be a very important part of the race today. In this wind, no protection whatsoever, and you can already see the Danes really flying down that stretch.
You can see the damage they've done. They've really split this field apart on a day when spray decks are essential.
Spray decks very important, because although most of these boats will have foot pumps, which is usually operated by the paddler sitting in the back, pumping water out of the boat with his feet, there's a very big danger of sinking in these waves, because the pumps just cannot handle the volume of water.
They get a little bit of protection here as they come around the back of the island, heading for the second marina, Denmark. And on the far side there, that's the South African duo from Johannesburg. Graham Bird in the hat, sitting behind him, Alan Van Collier, the accountant and research ecologist, respectively. They, like all these men, have full-time jobs. This is very much an amateur sport, and you have to fit the training in as well. Czechs on the far side, Hungarians at the back of this little group of 6. Their closest pursuers, the second boat for Hungary on the far side, the second for the Czech Republic, and the British boat together with Sweden. British boat, which includes Steve Harris, who's sitting behind Steve Baker. Just coming into picture now, Steve Harris, who's been one half of the British partnership that's taken the K2 doubles title for the past 2 World Championships.
Here we have the South African duo of Graham Bird and Alan Van Collier leading the race. Very unusual tactics for the South Africans. Graham usually races from the wash, where he likes to conserve his energy for the final sprint.
Well, here we can see Chad Meek and Lee Wilson a few moments ago dropped off the group and are now in no man's land. It's Chad with the steering mechanism under his feet. He controls the rudder, the man behind Lee providing the power, but both of them have to be in harmony. The chasing quartet now, Hungary up front, Czechs to the left, British to the right, Swedes at the back, and they've got some work to do to catch these leaders. The leaders now coming into the first portage. As you can see, the clouds over Mouse Mountain still looking pretty heavy, and the rain is still falling. Now this is the important first test here. The portage isn't very long, it's only 90 meters, and there's very, very little room at the put-in, as you'll see. Maybe just 20 meters across, so you've got to get out and run fast. It's a real opportunity to make ground and also to catch up if you've been left behind on the water. Now that's Victor Sakali and Attila Jambor of Hungary, and they're first out. The British on the near side, Tim Brabants and Connor Holmes. Thor Nielsen, not for the first time. He had problems in the portage yesterday, and he's getting left behind again.
Communication is very important in the double portage because both runners need to know exactly what to do.
Now this is the advantage. If you come down here first, you can choose your piece of water and make sure that you're not crowded out, because traffic problems are a reality here. The South Africans are just getting in front of the Hungarians, and there the Australians now. They've caught up. That's Chad Meek and Lee Wilson who've made some ground. The British putting their boat over the Australians. Hungarians the way, and the South Africans, and the Czechs going well. Now they've had a very good portage, and those are the first 3 boats. And it really is fast and furious as the chasing pack now come down to the water's edge. Steve Baker and Steve Harris getting in there for Great Britain, but being somewhat hampered by Magnus Kolbeck and Tim Brandt. And they've got the rudder of that Swedish kite trapped over the bow of the Norwegian boat behind, and they haven't heard the shouting. Now this is real danger, because if that rudder jams, they'll be in trouble. Equally, if they hold the Norwegian boat, the Norwegians are... Oh, and the Czechs now being taken out by the Swedes. What a mess. 3 kayaks who are now losing a lot of time on the field.
Here we see the South African second boat taking advantage of that collision. Daniel Conradi and Murray Wilson really powering past the field here.
Back at the portage, this is Guido Visser and Dennis van Vlaanderen for Holland. Just being passed there by the Austrians are going out. And all of these men have got a lot of time to make up, or most of them too much time to make up, if they want to take a share of the race for the medals. This is the current situation. Hungary leads from South Africa, then the Czech Republic in 3rd place ahead of the first British boat, then Australia, Denmark. The Hungarian and British boats are the second boats, are then in that group, but then there's a big gap of 46 seconds as the leaders now reach the top turn with the South Africans up front.
The cockpit rule, very important here. You can see the Hungarians chasing up to get their bow ahead of the South Africans' cockpit so that the South Africans cannot cut them off around the corner.
South Africa lead from Hungary on the far side, Australia on the left of your picture, then the Czechs, Jakob Zeman and Thomas Skarvat just tucking in behind the South Africans as the Danes go off course. Looks to me as if Thor was just correcting something on the foot pump there, so they're going to have to work to come back with this leading group. And Graham Bird just looking over his shoulder as to what Thor was up to, thinking there was some strange Danish tactic, but it's the South Africans after 9,500 meters who lead this race. Clouds around Table Mountain beginning to clear, so hopefully some better weather on the way. in this leading group, which includes Great Britain, the Republic of South Africa, and the Czech Republic. And they're being pursued at a distance by a second group of 4. Here they are, led by the Norwegians, with Great Britain, New Zealand, and the Czech Republic also represented.
You can see the New Zealanders catching up on the far side there. They know the bridge is coming up. They have to pass the boat on the first wave to get the advantage. Otherwise, they will have to fall back all the way. They didn't seem to have made it, so they've got to fall back.
The real danger is to get it wrong of being pushed into the concrete. Now, Thor Nielsen and Carsten Solgaard taking up the pace here and putting a little power in. The South Africans on the right of your picture, just behind them. Then the Hungarians, Australia, the Czech Republic, and the British now right at the back of this group.
Incredible work rate by the Danish boats. They just put in so much effort right through the race. Totally different tactics than from most of the other top paddlers, and they just tire out the rest of the field with power paddling all the way.
Yes, well, Thor's no stranger to success. With Lars Koch, who won the first of these Marathon World Championships back in 1988 in Nottingham, and then defended the title when the championships went to Copenhagen in 1990. Sole Austrian participants leading this third group. That's Kurt Lindegruber and Wolfgang Hochstein. As they go under the bridge, the leaders are already emerging out onto the open lake. Denmark, still from South Africa and Hungary and Australia, the Czech Republic and Great Britain.
The wind has a big effect on the wave riding tactics in this open water, where the side waves are severely affected by the huge waves coming from behind, making wave riding very difficult.
Now, as you can see, the second group expanded to 7, but they're still some distance away from the leaders. And Ireland in the third group, together with Slovakia and the Netherlands represented in that little bunch. But back to the leaders, and here are the 2 Hungarians, once again doing the work. Man up front there is Victor. Both of these men come from Tolna. Victor's 23, an engineer by profession, and Attila, his partner, a year older, and he's the mechanic. A couple of local residents who probably weren't expecting all this activity in the morning. And now to the second group, and a bit of sorting out has happened. They're coming down the lake. As you can see, we're down to, 5 boats chasing the leading pack, who are now turning to the portage for the second time. Coming round the bottom behind the start and moving up as they are now, and it's the Hungarians once again who've come furthest up the portage. And the Australians there, almost with the bow of their boat in the cabin of the South African boat.
Yes, once again, you have to be so careful on these portages, especially in the doubles races where communication is so important between the 2 paddlers.
So the 2 South Africans, Graham Bird, they're getting in front, but it is the Hungarians who get away first. You see the British there, absolutely stuck there. Tim Brummett couldn't move. He was trapped by the South Africans there, and shouting for them to get on with it.
Yes, the South Africans definitely had the best position there.
Well, they had the best position, didn't take advantage of it, and in the process impeded the British and cost them a few precious seconds. Czech Republic, second British boat, Baker and Harris getting away, the Norwegians. As you can see, the leaders, and in fact it's the Hungarians who've opened up a 9-second advantage. A lot of mayhem there, and they've taken the opportunity to head towards the top turn with a useful advantage over the South Africans, the British, the Czech, the Australians, and once again Thor Nielsen left behind. Top turn now, and that was the Hungarians going through, and they've still got a good few meters on the pack.
The Danes have caught up onto the chasing group. 5 boats working together against 1. They should be able to catch the Hungarians, although nobody seems to be willing to pick up the pace here.
Simon van Lockwiesen, an Irishman with a very un-Irish sounding name, together with Malcolm Banks up front there, the Maloney brothers on the near side, and then for Slovakia, Peter Peszuk and Nicholas Kerry. They're chasing hard, going up towards the turn, whilst the second group now are on their way back down. Eric Larsen, Peter Reed for Norway, as they have been leading the chase. And they're now down to a group of 3, because as you can see, the Swedes here have been dropped. Hungarians still well in the lead. Leaves the Czechs in second place. Jakub Zeman, who celebrated his birthday last Thursday, 22 years of age. leading the chase there, although he'll probably hold off on the celebrations, hoping that he can add a medal and have a big party tonight. Now the second group, or technically the third group now, with the South Africans in front.
Daniel Conradi and Murray Wilson hoping to stay in touch with the leaders so that should any of the leaders fall off the pace, they will be able to pick them up.
There are the Hungarians. That's the advantage they've got. A little early to say that it's decisive, but it's certainly useful as they come now out onto the lake. And there's the gap, visual gap, and the Danes are leading the chase. And one interesting point we've just picked up there, Tor Nielsen and his teammate Carsten Solgaard have switched places. Tor has moved to the back position, and it's Carsten who's up in the bow, and they're applying the pressure now. They're trying to close the gap on the open water, and these men in the third group, led by the Norwegians, will have seen that as well and now have to try and respond if they're to stay in this race. Hungarians coming round the island, and that burst by the Danes has certainly brought them all a lot closer. The Hungarians just looking around, and now they're in this calmer, flatter water and getting a little bit of protection. Some of the back markers, Marco Covi and David Contini for Italy, leading this small group. But I must say, Fricky, unusual to see two men change position during the race.
Yes, they had a problem earlier on today where the original partner for Tor got sick, and they didn't have time to sort out the boat before the race started, and they just got into the boat and they're sorting it out as the race goes on. It's amazing stuff.
It really is. Well, Tor has been amazing throughout the weekend. We've recounted his tales at the portage, but still the drama goes on. But as you say, they're still there in the hunt and really in with a chance of a medal. Norwegians now chasing with the British pair, Steve Baker and Steve Harris. A little disappointing that they're so far back at the moment. Now the leaders into the portage for the third time. It's Hungary leading the race across the grass there from the South Africans, with Great Britain just about behind them. There's the British duo just switching and changing, getting ready for the put-in. And the Danes at the back of this quartet now, and it's 4 away.
Yeah, interesting to see there the South Africans choosing to run the boat on their shoulders as opposed to all the other countries where the participants run with the boat dragging behind or hanging from their arms.
Well, they're probably just taking care of their rudder, but the important news is just 4 in the lead now because Australia and the Czech Republic have been dropped. Australia just coming down to the water's edge. Just here they are, Chad Meek and Lee Wilson, and also the Czechs there, Thomas Kravat and Jakob Zeman going out now, and they're really going to have to work hard if they want to take part in the medal race. Also coming down the other Czech boat here, this is Vit Vanicek and Thomas Jezek, and just a pity they got so tangled up with the Swedes and lost so much time early on. The order then, South Africa, Great Britain, Hungary and Denmark, and then a break to the United States. That's Mark Posishik and Sean Bieber, who've done really well to move up. Now to the top turn, Denmark leading from South Africa on the inside, Great Britain on the outside.
The Danes enforcing the cockpit rule, they're forcing the South Africans to fall back.
Oh, and they've just gone the wrong side of the buoy, the South Africans there. That was really bad luck, and they're going to have to go round and come back to avoid the disqualification there. And that's really opened this up. Denmark have got the lead with Hungary and Great Britain between the two boats, and you can see the massive amount of time and distance that the South Africans are lost, and that's an absolutely crucial mistake now. And whether they can get back, time will only tell, but their hearts must surely have sunk as we see the second group.
Yes, it's very tough to come back from behind like that, especially if you're alone.
The leaders in the marina once again, Denmark up front there, Hungary and Great Britain side by side. Plenty of room now, and these three at the moment favourite to take the medals, and here are the South Africans in 4th place with about 8,000 metres in which to try and close the gap.
It's decision time for the South Africans now. They have to decide whether they're going to burn hard and try and catch the leading bunch, or just wait for the following bunch and work together with them to try and catch the leading bunch.
Well, Vicky, if you were in that boat, what would you do now?
Well, I think it's too close to the finish. I think they must really go for it and try and catch the front bunch.
Vicky, surely these three who are following the South Africans, they've got to make a move.
Yes, this is what I spoke about earlier on. They had to stay in contact so that if any of the pieces come apart in the front, they need to pick it up.
How long do you wait for those pieces to come apart, and will they come apart? Just look at that beautiful smooth rhythms in the leaders. Really impressive. Well, Vicky, not good news for South African fans. Graham Bird and Alan Van Collier have been caught now by the Czechs, Thomas Carvat and Jakob Zeman, and the Australians, Chad Meek and Lee Wilson. A chasing group of 3 now.
Yeah, I think that was a deliberate change of tactics by Graham to allow the other 2 boats to catch them, to work together to try and catch the leaders.
Up front, new leaders, and it's the British. Tim Brabant's facing you, 21 years of age, a medical student who last year took the European silver medal in the individual K1, and 10 years his senior is Connor Holmes, based in London.
Well, the Brits must surely fancy the chances now, with only 3 boats in that main bunch, and they definitely, on paper, they are the strongest boats.
They're coming out onto the open lake, heading now to the back of the start pontoon before they turn left and come up to the border. Great Britain from Denmark and Hungary, 3 fighting for the medal. This is the chasing group, and there you can see the Czechs ahead of the South Africans as the leaders now come into the portage. Hungary, as ever, right to the front, getting out second the Danes, and this is one portage where Thor cannot afford to make a mistake. If he makes any sort of error here, Fricky, I think they're going to be out of the gold medal chase.
Yeah, surely also yesterday's race must be taking its toll on Thor as well, so he just cannot carry on catching up the whole time.
Absolutely incredible. You would never expect top-class, world-class road runners to do a full marathon on Saturday and another one on Sunday, but even though you don't punish your legs quite as much in canoe marathon, this has still got to be a huge effort to do 2 marathons on consecutive days.
It certainly is, but in this respect, canoeing can be compared to cycling, where you put in a lot of power and there is not such a big pounding effect on your muscles.
Just under 3,000 metres to go as the leaders go past the clubhouse. The VIP closure beginning to fill up as the Hungarians take a leg speed over the British. The Danes still trying to close up. These 3 boats are away, and it's between the 3 of them now for the medals. Back in the portage, here are the South Africans coming to put in Graham Bird and Alan Van Collier, and it seems to me that they're now going to race with the Czechs behind them, Thomas Carvat and Jakob Zeman, for 4th and 5th spot. Just a pity they ran into that problem with the boy.
Yeah, the other 3 boats really took advantage of that mistake, and they've secured their medals, and now these guys have to race it out for the 4th place.
And not too much petrol in the Australian tank by the look of these 2, Chad Meek and Lee Wilson. And they've had a hard race. Well, they've all had a hard race in these very, very gusty, difficult conditions.
Yes, while you're in the race, up with a chance, it's much easier to concentrate and keep the rhythm going. But once you're behind like that, it really becomes tough.
Eric Larsson and Peter Reed getting in front of the other South Africans, so they could finish in the top 10.
Yeah, this is incredible stuff. South Africa has never done this well in a race before, in a World Champs before. 2 possible finishes in the top 10 is really great.
Fine effort indeed, but the leaders now coming towards the final 1,000 metres of this marathon. Will it be the young Hungarians who stayed so cool, calm and collected, or the British in their first senior world championship, or will it be the experienced Danes who come through from 3rd to take the gold medal? Coming towards the top turn, there are the Hungarians, right there the British, and on the far side the Danes. And the gap back to the chasing South Africans, just about 750 metres. Here they are with the Czechs keeping them company. The British now trying to close up on the Hungarians ahead of them as we come to the top turn for the 3 leaders. Here they are, the Hungarians, the British on the inside, the Danes on the left.
It's incredible. I would have expected the British team to take control of the race by now, but they haven't done so.
Australians dropped back to 8. They've been passed by the 2nd South African boat, but at the business end, here it is now, the Hungarians with almost a length up on the British, just about 10 strokes to go to the line. The Danes are out of it now. The Hungarians have held the advantage right the way through, and they take the championship. The first ever K2 title for Hungary. 2 young men whose mental and physical strength throughout the race really surprised the opposition. South Africa, unlucky to miss a boy and lose a medal in 4th, but nonetheless 4th and 7th. The British 2nd boat, Steve Baker and Steve Harris, a little disappointing to see them in 10th place. Two happy champions will look to defend their title on home water next year. So 2 gold medals still to be decided when we come back for women's kayak and Canadian doubles. In the lineup, the title won 2 years ago by Sweden's Susanne Rosenqvist with Maria Haglund. And Susanne Rosenqvist in today's lineup again in boat number 9 in the middle of the pack there with a late replacement in her boat, Frida Melstead, one of the juniors who's come in. So the dash again to the first turn, Ricky.
Yeah, some of the ladies being caught by surprise by the start actually and losing ground immediately.
Well, the Swedish haven't been caught by surprise, both their boats to the fore, and just ahead at this early stage is Åsa Eklund, and on the far side with her partner Susanne Gunnarsson. Susanne, of course, who 24 hours ago took the women's individual title, making it 4 in a row. And the Hungarians also moving up now as they all head with about another 300 metres to the top turn. Meanwhile, this is the start of the Canadian doubles, 11 in the lineup, and this promises to be a Hungarian-British battle with the Train brothers. You can just see them there in the white shirts, 4 from the right of your picture, very much favoured to recapture the Canadian doubles title that they won in the past. In fact, they were champions in the Canadian doubles back in 1988 in Nottingham. But at the moment, it's the Hungarians on the far side who've got the early lead, but a long way to go. As ever, 37,900 metres as we see the Train brothers. It's Andrew up front, Stephen behind, as we revert to the women coming to the first of the bridges in the marina.
Once again, a very important phase of the race. This bunch is quite big still, and we'll probably see a small interval here by the leading boats to try and shake off some of the competitors.
So Renata Zay in front of partner Andrea Pitts for Hungary, ahead of Åsa Eklund and Susanne Gunnarsson, and then in third place for Great Britain it's Andrea Dalloway, who's in front of Helen Gilby. Just going through now.
Interesting to see this chasing group here with the South African boat leading, the other competitors refraining from forming the diamond formation to get the maximum benefit out of the wave.
Well, the leaders haven't quite reached 3,000 metres. They'll do that when they pass the next bridge. But on the right there for Hungary, just easing off the pace after applying it. Hungarians in the green vest with the blue kayak, then also Eklund for Sweden in the yellow vest. The British are in third place, and to the left there, the Poles in red and white, Marzena Michalak and Isabella Dankowska. And right at the back there, the Germans from Leipzig, Annette Schuch, sitting in front of Sabine Meyer. The Germans, very experienced partnership, particularly Annette, who was part of the German K4 at the last Olympics that took gold at 500 metres. Yet again, underlining that a lot of the racers in today's competition race not only marathon but also the sprint distances. But Hungary it is, and have the advantage as they go into the second part of the marina. Just entering now the Canadian doubles on the right with blonde hair, boat number 8 for Hungary, Edvin Kasabai in front of teammate Attila Gjör, and the other Hungarians on the left of your picture, boat number 10, that's Gabor Balgovich with Bela Jakos, and just behind this pair are the Train brothers Andrew and Stephen, whose tactics are to find their pace and then grind the opposition down. In fourth place, the Germans, Vladimir Petersky and Peder Kubicek.
Out on the lake we have the Swedish ladies really putting a very strong burst here to try and get rid of the other boats. They are really going very, very hard here, and we can see the Germans taking strain right at the back of the pack.
Indeed, talking to Annette before today's race, she was very conscious of the fact that they mustn't become detached early on. This is the chasing group, Edith Jaworski and Beata Benzev for Hungary. On the right there, that's Susanna Rosenqvist in the front of the Swedish kayak, the defending champion, and on the left there, Antje Malherbe and Jean Wilson for South Africa. Now back to the leaders, and up front now looks to be the Hungarians still with the advantage.
Yes, and very tough here for the Germans in 5th position because they have actually dropped out of the diamond formation, and to hang on to the side wave is very difficult.
Leading this group is Chantal Meek for Australia with her older sister Bryla just behind her in the stern. Chantal, who didn't have a very good day yesterday, had to pull out of the women's kayak competition as the leaders come into the first portage. This is the 8,000 metre mark, and you can see the Swedes getting out, and also Eklund and Susanne Gunnarsson already on the run, and they're taking a metre or two here off the opposition. Britain's Andrea Dalloway on the left, together with Helen Gilbey, who are undefeated in World Cup competitions. They come to these championships having one in the Czech Republic and one in France, and they're just ahead of the Poles. They're the Hungarians who've lost their position here in this portage and look to be in a little bit of trouble. Now watch this for technique.
Susanna, the cool, calm customer, just stepping right into the boat and off in a whip.
So Sweden maintain the advantage, Great Britain going out second, Poland third in what one can only say are miserable conditions, and it's Schuk and Sabine Meyer just putting their boat in as Renata Say and Andrea Pitts for Hungary paddle past them. The Germans in 5th place and clinging on. Just coming down to the water behind them, Antje Malherbe and Jean Wilson, the local girls from Cape Town. There's Jean, polio sufferer at the back, being helped according to the International Canoe Federation rules, and they're not out of this.
Yes, I can guarantee you that they get no advantage from being helped on this portage, and they actually did very, very well to stay ahead in the group here.
And this is the Hungarians. This is Renata Say and Andrea Pitts. They didn't get very far on that portage. They've had to pull out, and they've dropped back now. So the Swedes have a useful advantage, 6 seconds ahead of the Poles and the Britons, with the Germans moving past into 4th place at the moment. But the Swedes with clear water behind them and ahead of them.
Yeah, this is incredible. You don't often see this in marathon racing where one boat just simply powers away from the rest of the field like this.
A real piece of positive paddling, a solid decision, and it's really asked a question of those who are closest to them, and it seems to me that they've decided, at least for the moment, not to chase. And it's Schuk and Sabine Meyer moving up into 2nd place ahead of the British Andrea Dalloway and Helen Gilbey, and just behind there Marzena Michalik and Izabela Dankowska for Poland. They're in 2nd, 3rd and 4th positions. Now what do they do?
Well, at this stage they've got to decide to really start to pick up the pace and close the gap, because if the other two ladies get away, it's going to be very difficult to close the gap in the latter stages of the race.
Little change in the first 3 positions in the Canadian doubles. Closest to Katabay and Dior of Hungary. Just behind them, Balgovits and Yakos, their fellow countrymen, going past them now with the Train brothers a few seconds adrift in 3rd place. There they are. Now the Germans being followed down to the water by the Czechs closest to, then the Poles. It's been Spanish at the back of that group there.
Yes, but notice how the paddlers need to lean their boats towards the side to actually make a turn.
No particular worries for the Train brothers at the moment. They've got visual contact with the 2 Hungarians as they paddle towards the sea and the South Atlantic and the top turn. Also Eklund and Susanne Gunnarsson already seemingly making the best of their way home, Pricky.
Very good rhythm there. They've really settled into a very nice space for themselves. These 3 boats really need to put their heads down now, regroup and pick up the chase.
Yes, it's a bit mystifying at this early stage while they're not prepared to put the work in. Germany 2nd, Great Britain 3rd and Poland 4th.
Ladies, go!
The problem with this course is there are so many twists and turns, so many places where you lose visual contact when you're in this sort of situation. It's very, very difficult. And now the next chasing group with the South Africans Antje Herber and Jean Wilson on the right. Into the marina, and the Train brothers have made up that 7 seconds, and they've taken over the advantage from Edwin Katabay and Attila Győr, with the Hungarian 2nd boat a few metres, 7-8 lengths back. There it is. That's Gabor Balgovits and Bela Yakos. That looks significant.
Yeah, it's a definite break here, and I think those 2 boats have gone away there.
Into the portage for the first time, and you saw as the chasers come in, Gunnarsson and our partner also Eklund are already at the put-in. So they've got over 100 metres, probably even more advantage over these three.
Yeah, this is very significant. I cannot see the other boats making up this ground if they don't really start working together now.
They're also looking for her first major international title, but of course the woman that's sitting behind her, a real superstar of canoe sport. 4 times individual kayak champion and many medals both in sprint as well as marathon. Annette Schuck and Sabine Meyer for Germany. All 3 of these chasers almost together at the footing for the second time. 16,000 metres complete.
These 3 boats seem to have given up the actual chase. As you say, I think they're just busy in a tactical race to sort out the medal amongst themselves.
Getting away second, but look at the Swedes up front. They are flying.
Using their back muscles into the headwind to really keep the rhythm going.
Leading Sweden also leading the race for 4th, 5th and 6th places on the left. Susanne Rosenquist up front. Then in green it's Edith Jaworski for Hungary, and just behind Antje Malherbe for South Africa. Back to the portage, this for the second time for the Canadian doubles, and in the lead Edwin Katabay and Attila Gjör, followed pretty closely by the Train brothers, and just a little back from them the other Hungarians, Gabor Balgovits and Bela Jakus.
Coming into picture, we can see the Germans. It's interesting to notice the coach running alongside with their drinks to replenish their energy drinks for them.
Also Eklund and Susanne Gunnarsson under no pressure. They're going further away as they head for the marina for a 3rd time. Chasing group, as you can see, now down to just 2 boats. Marzena Michalak and Isabella Dankowska of Poland have been burned off, and it's Britain on the right and Germany on the left, respectively, in silver and bronze at this moment, half the race done. This is the view that Whitbread Round the World yachtsmen had when they turned into table boats. Eklund, sitting in the front of that Swedish kayak, is going to become a world champion for the first time in her sporting career.
The adrenaline must be pumping there. A lot of thoughts will be racing through her mind. She will just want to take care not to damage the boat now, perhaps bend the rudder or hold the boat that would put them out of the race.
Another piece of assistance they're getting, split times from their coaches, strategically placed around the course. But just at this moment, they'll have absolutely no worries. You can see what a quality combination they are, overtaking some of the back markers in the men's kayak competition.
Incredible racing. These guys started 5 minutes ahead of them. If you look carefully now, you can see the German boat who is leading with the orange spray deck. You can see the water being pumped out of their boat. The foot pumps are operated by the person sitting in the back, pumping the water with their feet.
The Germans, of course, in second place, just a length behind the British, Andrea Dalloway and Helen Gilby. And here in really no man's land, the Poles, who were runners-up in the first World Cup race to the British at the beginning of this marathon racing season. And now the Canadian doubles, and Andrew and Stephen Train leading the way ahead of the Hungarians, Edwin Katabay and Attila Gjör. Andrew up front there, 35 years of age, his birthday last Monday. Hasn't been able to put in as much work with his brother this year because he's a school teacher, so it's only really in the last 6 weeks that they've been able to combine. And there's the 3rd boat, Gabor Balgovits and Bela Jakus in bronze medal position. And the water really getting bumpy as the wind increases, and it's really gusting, and it is making life difficult.
A very real danger of sinking here, and it's very important that you have the right equipment, a good pump and a good spray deck.
Well, Mr. Gypsum Goose might value the thermals, but the paddlers out there would be much happier if this was a calm day. But it isn't, and they just have to get on with it. And so far, so good for these 2 Swedish women, going now into the 2nd marina complex. This one title that Susanne Gunnarsson has yet to win. Leading the race for silver now, Andrea Dalloway, the 26-year-old primary school teacher, sitting behind her, Helen Gilby, soon to take up a new job with British Airways, and they're at the moment trying to move away from Annette Schuck and Sabine Meyer. But the two Germans are pretty determined to stay with them, and they've got good sprinting speed, which the British will be well aware of. Up front, a change in the Canadian doubles. The Hungarians have got the lead back, Kasabai and Gyur ahead of the Train brothers, but both of them are having real problems keeping their canoes running straight and true in this gusty wind. You can see the background there, the trees and the reeds really being blown around. Now into the portage for the third time, the Swedes still clear of Germany and Great Britain, but getting wrapped up in the men's K2 traffic.
They've put in a lot of effort into this race up until this stage, and it looks like they're running a bit tired here.
Indeed, Suzanne to me looks a little bit in distress. However, they've got a big advantage. They've been on the go for over 2 hours now, but their advantage something of the order of 5 minutes, we think. Also just getting things going, but Suzanne, surely distress there from Suzanne as she goes out on the last lap. At 5 minutes and 9 seconds it is the advantage they've got over Dalloway and Gilby of Great Britain, Schuck and Mayer of Germany.
Suzanne looked in real pain there after that portage.
Well, the message will have got back to these women. Maybe it'll give them a bit of heart to really start chasing, but I have to say 5 minutes is an enormous advantage. And here's Annette and Sabine in third place, and they're a good 3 boat lengths off the British now. Didn't do that too well. Well, the Swedes, have they gone too hard in the beginning part of the race? Are they about to pay the price? We've seen it happen in many a sport, particularly in marathon running. But surely, Fricky, they're not going to give this away. As we see the doubles coming out of their third quarter, still the Hungarians in the lead from the Train brothers.
I agree with you, David, but I saw the Swedes getting some help there from one of the male backmarker boats, and that might just save the day for them.
Double Bolgowitz and Bela Yako still in third place in the Canadian doubles race as the women come into the marina for the last time, or at least the leaders do, and to the narrow bridge. They'll be well pleased to see this for the last time, I fancy.
Yes, the pace has surely dropped off from this leading boat, and they just want to make the finish now.
Meanwhile, we still have the battle going on for silver and bronze. Andrea and Helen ahead of Annette and Sabine. And this is now cat and mouse between these two.
Yes, especially where some of the other backmarkers get involved, which affects the positioning in the bunch.
Just a question of putting the work in now to get to the finish line, not doing anything extravagant, but keeping it steady. And what must be really hard here, particularly for Suzanne, is to maintain that focus.
Yes, you could see her really cramping up in her arms there, but still using her back very effectively. Top-class athlete.
That's the second boat, Suzanne Rosenquist on the left of the picture, the defending champion. There's a really good chance that the title's going to stay in Sweden, but it's going to be 2 different names on the roll of honour. These are the leading Hungarians in your picture now. 22-year-old Edwin on the left there, and 23-year-old Attila behind him, both of them from Budapest, the mecca of Canadian canoeing. Sabine having a little look around now and looking at what the British are up to, because to me as if the Germans might be of a mind to make a move and secure that silver medal position.
Yes, whenever you see paddlers looking around like that, usually some action follows close after that.
Also, just taking in a little bit of juice, keeping the energy flowing through her. And the weather is brightening as we get to the final portage. Suzanne and also very steady through here, no mistakes. That'll be the order of the day from the coaches. They'll have just told them, won't they, Ricky? Just keep this going, take your time.
Yes, they are so close now. Only 3,000 meters to go after this, and they just have to hang in there.
Amazing effort. Suzanne even looking more unstable this time round. She's going to be really glad to get back in that boat. Running is not something she's finding very good at the moment.
Well, it's just sheer guts keeping her on her feet there.
Desire to win. Can't emphasize too much. It is a fantastic effort. She paddled almost 38,000 meters yesterday. She's had virtually 12 hours, if that, to recover from that effort before she does it again. Whereas the two British girls you see here now, this is their first effort. This is what they come here for, the K2 title.
Yes, and they seem to have opened a bit of a gap on the Germans here, and the Germans definitely seem to be in trouble there.
Well, likewise for the Germans, this is their competition, fresh legs, fresh arms, and that makes the Swedish performance even more special.
Well, spare a thought for the Germans here, Annette having raced in Szeged in Hungary 2 weeks ago in the World Sprint Championships.
Well, the same could be said of Suzanne Gunnarsson, so that cancels that advantage or disadvantage out, whichever way you like to look at it. But here they are, Åsa Eklund and Suzanne Gunnarsson on their way home, going up towards the top turn, well inside the last 3,000 metres of this race, and are they going to be happy to see that finish line? Meanwhile, Stephen Train and Andrew Train getting back into the drive position, having overtaken the Hungarians to take the lead in the Canadian doubles. Finally, their persistence has paid off, and they've worn down the opposition.
They've really done well to come back here and to take the lead again. I really thought at one stage that they were out of the race.
Indeed, they've got a very healthy advantage over these two who are in the silver medal position, and their teammates, here they are, in bronze for Hungary. Meanwhile, getting towards the finish now, here are the leaders in the women's K2 race, Åsa Eklund and Suzanne Gunnarsson, and they take the title, and Suzanne Gunnarsson becomes the first woman ever to win both the individual and K2 event on a single weekend on consecutive days. And you can see what it's taken out of her.
I can't believe it myself either. I started to cry many times out there, but this was the first time and the last time. I'm never going to do it again. It was very hard. But
now, Suzanne, they tell us that when you say that it's the last time, you've been saying it's the last time for a number of years. Now, is this really the last time, or...?
Yeah, it is, because I'm going to do to the Olympic 2000, and it's 500 there, so I'm going to just do sprint now, the last 2 years.
So this is really the last time marathon racing at this level?
Yeah, I promise. I promise.
Well, fantastic. Double world champion. Many congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Sprint on toward the silver medal, and it's Annette Schuck and Sabine Mayer who've got the power now. Annette, the previous winner of this event, moving ahead. The British can't respond, and this is going to be Germany's first medal of the championship. And they come across the line. The British have eased off, and Annette Schuck and Sabine Mayer take the silver and are rightfully delighted. The British, Andrea Dalloway and Helen Gilby coming in to get their first ever senior medals, the bronze. Here come the Train brothers to round off a great weekend for Britain and to retain the title and take it to 3 Canadian doubles titles. They first won in '88 on home water in Nottingham, last year in Sweden, and now here in South Africa.
It's a good early pace early on, so we were happy to let them work as much as we worked, and we just got a break on the 4th lap down at the bottom turn, and then we had to work really hard from there. And I don't know if the break was as convincing as it might have been, because there were some other K2s with us, women's K2s, and I think the Hungarians were helped along behind a bit with that, but yeah, it was all right.
And there we are, Hungarians coming home to take silver and bronze. Edwin Kutabai and Attila Gjör taking the silver. Time to wrap up the day's results. In the women's kayak doubles, gold for Sweden in a time of 2 hours, 51 minutes and 11 seconds, an incredible 6.5 minutes ahead of their nearest rivals. The host country in 6th place, Antje Malherbe and Jean Wilson. The first dozen spread out over 20 minutes, underlining just how difficult it was out there on the water. Suzanne Gunnarsson's tears replaced by smiles. Her achievement here will not be easily equalled. In the Canadian doubles, the defending champions retain the title in a time of 2 hours, 55 minutes and 58 seconds, with Hungary taking silver and bronze. And no doubt the Hungarians will be out next year to stop the trains collecting a hat-trick when Hungary welcomes the world of marathon racing. And despite the weather, which changed every single day, a successful first World Canoeing Championship on the continent of Africa, with the sun coming out for the final podium presentation.
Hungary,
So after the 6 championship races, it's next year's hosts who top the medal table, Great Britain achieving their best ever performance, with Suzanne Gunnison plus a little help from Åsa Eklund in 3rd place. Well, it's time for us to take our leave from Frikkie Reinders and myself, David Goldstrom. Thanks for your company. Bye-bye now from South Africa.